Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayla's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody, how are you doing? Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. Happy to have you along with us. As always, another beautiful day, people. Hope everything is going well. Your week has started off right. We've got another fun day ahead of us. Plenty to talk about, of course, as the NCAA tournament gets underway today, actually, with the play-in games in Dayton. We're going to talk about some coaching search noise, nothing of stature, but Indiana, they're in the final phase of this coaching search. And an announcement could come anywhere from sometime this week to next week, possibly, depending upon whom it is. We'll talk about all of that. Lou Goody applying for another year of eligibility, and I think he gets that. I'd seen different reports of how many games he had played as a sophomore, and the latest I saw was just 10 games. If he only played in 10 games, that's one game less than Xavier Johnson played when he got his medical red shirt handed to him. I think he played 11 games. So we've got that going as well. And the portal opening up in a week. But players on teams that lose a coach, it automatically opens up the portal for 30 days, which means it's just going to open up the portal for Indiana players 1 week sooner. The House settlement expected to be approved next month in April. That is encouraging collectives, NIL collectives, to sign NIL deals prior to that agreement, because once that agreement is in place and agreed to, all of these deals will have to be under considered fair market value decided by Deloitte and Touche, who they keep track of the Emmy votes and everything else on the free market, it seems like. So that, and you know, once Mike Woodson is, he's done, but, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff that comes out about his tenure, I'll say. And, you know, when you hear me, when I talk about Indiana should have made this move 1 year ago, and they should have, it's not because just because you could tell the program was not going where it needed to go and highly unlikely to change, but it was all the other stuff that was known that was going on and allowed. So not going to get too deep into that, but appreciate everybody jumping on with us, no matter where or how you're listening on one of our great radio stations. 97.7 ESPN, the Ref down in Evansville is always the right call. Our friends up in the region on the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on the only sports station in town, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked right here throughout your travels and during the day. And for those following along on YouTube, we appreciate you. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like buttons, please. Let's see. And the tournament getting underway tomorrow. Oh, I wanted to remember that Greg Gumbel. First year we won't have Greg Gumbel during the NCAA tournament. And I was very, very fortunate to get to work with Greg at CBS when I was a peon, and I'm still a peon, but when I was a smaller peon back in the day. It was very honoring to get to be around guys like that. And this was a while ago, but it was fun. Working for CBS during this time of the year was magical, man. I was so fortunate to get to be around people like Greg Gumbel and Jim Nance, and Bill Raftery, Sean McDonough. Got to meet all of those guys. Now I'll tell you, the only one that I didn't like was Billy Packer. He was not my favorite. Typical East Coast guy. But yeah. Anyway, but it was fun. It was fun. Let me tell you, the biggest year that fun have I ever had was one year. This was before they had the play-ins in Dayton, but Dayton was a tournament site, oddly, as was Cincinnati, which I don't know how that happened. They're only like 45 minutes apart, but I ended up getting to work both sites, which means Wednesday and Thursday I was, I guess, in Cincinnati. Friday it was up in Dayton. Saturday back to Cincinnati. Sunday back in Dayton. What is that? That's 16 total teams to start out and combined in those two locations. But fun getting to see all of that. Fun getting to see all of you guys. Here's a great question. Michael Myers. Ooh, man, I didn't know we were going to start off with Michael Myers. Dun, 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 dun. I don't know the music from that movie. But Michael says, was Mata Dolson's first choice 4 years ago? Question mark. I'm sure that may have been preceded by something else, another comment. But I bring that up because I took a lot of grief 4 years ago because I don't know what choice he was, but I can tell you he was a choice. He was set to become Indiana's next basketball coach. He had a meeting with IU in which everything was discussed, roles of the job, contract numbers, all of that. Then they went away, and Thad Matta initiated a second meeting, and at that time, he informed Indiana of a health situation that he was dealing with, and in essence, took himself out of the running. And I reported this, and unfortunately, one of the things that between the two sources one of them had mentioned that he had failed a physical, which that was not true. He didn't take a physical, but he could not have passed a physical. Regardless, it was a health situation. He would have been the coach at Indiana, hence kind of why he was given the position by Scott Dolson he was as a liaison to Mike Woodson to help navigate him through the college basketball world. But Mike Woodson and his arrogance didn't need that nor want that around. Didn't use that. Didn't use a lot of things because he knew better. He knew what he was doing. I'm going to bring in 4 guys that have no knowledge of college basketball. I shouldn't say no knowledge, but very little knowledge of college basketball that are quote unquote NBA guys. And I'm going to pay them $440,000 a year. And they're going to do pretty much nothing because that's what's in the best interest of the program. That is how Mike Woodson took his job. That's how he thought that what was best for the program. which that in and of itself is the biggest joke. That is part of when I say that Indiana should have made this decision a year ago. That is part of why that decision should have been made. The arrogance, ignorance, and just hypocrisy of what was going on. Nothing. I don't care what Trace Jackson Davis says. Of course he's in love with me. He was the focal point of a worthless offense. You got him places, but what did it do for the program? What did it do for the team? Nothing. Didn't matter. It's well, that deal is finally over, and I think no matter whom the next coach is that Scott Dolson settles on, it's going to be a big time breath of fresh air. And I don't care if it's Ben McCollum or Brad Brownell or Darren DeVries, whomever it is. They are a college basketball coach. All of them are currently having a lot of success. DeVries, the only reason he's even available at this moment is because they got screwed. Boy, and we'll talk about that too. North Carolina. Well, I'm not even going to, I'll save that because that'll get going. But Darren DeVries, a name that has kind of jumped into the fray. He's one of those guys that is available right now because West Virginia did not make the NCAA tournament because of Bubba Cunningham's screw job over everyone. How in the hell Xavier, Texas, and North Carolina got in? It's beyond comprehension. Now, that's not just me saying that. That is virtually every pundit out there, including Joe Lunardi, and cannot wait to talk to Mike DeCourcy about that on the program today. Our bracket analyst. Hey, bro, on the program today as well. Kevin Brockway, Gators. Whoo, yep. Chomp, chomp, baby. They're ready to take a bite out of this tournament. And rolling. Speaking of bites, we got to take a break. Mike DeCourcy's going to join us next. We'll get right into this NCAA talk and some more coaching talk. City Boy asking, did Goody even score a single point in the last game? If you're a role player that only shoots threes, you better hit threes. Hey, man, you cannot hold anything against any player in Mike Whitson's system, personally. So there's that. And Luke Goody is a player you want on your team. He's a great leader. He is an experienced player, an experienced college player, and that's invaluable to teams, especially one that is going to have to be put together next season. I expect virtually the entire roster to be gone, but the house settlement, I mentioned it a minute ago, could change some of that. If the collective signs an NIL deal with, say, Malik Renew and Mackenzie Mbako before this house settlement goes into effect for next year, I guess in essence they could lock them in. But we'll talk more about that and a lot more as Mike DeCourcy is set to join us up next. And really want to talk about this North Carolina deal with Bubba Cunningham. Mike never says a bad thing about anybody. And he's not going to say anything bad about the AD either, but he has to recognize this is just crap. Yes, not only the losses, but the seeding is bad for the SEC. That tells me that they're not getting a lot of respect. And the SEC, that is the best conference in the country, do not get me wrong, but they're giving credence to teams like Oklahoma, who went 6-12 in the conference. What? 6-12? What are you kidding me? North Carolina, we know, went 1-12 in quad one games. West Virginia I forget how many quad one games they won, but it was like 6. It's staggering how badly West Virginia got screwed by North Carolina's AD. It's crazy. Appreciate everybody being on the program with us. See a lot of new names on the hotline. Appreciate you as well, Jeremy. How are you doing, sir? Yeah, Billy ACC Packer. That was right. Shenanigans said he read an article this morning about could it be Thad Matta as there is an exist? No. What look, what has Thad Matta done at Butler since he's been there? Nothing. And it's his time has passed. 4 years ago, yeah, had he been healthy, it might have been. So, and Andrew says, is Wolf from Michigan Larry Bird's love child? Strong resemblance. Funny you should say that, Andrew, because his game, I was thinking the other day, he reminds me of a somewhat more athletic Larry Bird. I'm not saying he's as good as Larry Bird. Larry Legend was crazy good. But, dude, this guy's 7 foot and plays point guard in essence for Michigan. But, hey, I got to quickly get to a break. The great Mike DeCourcy on the other side from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with it all right after these messages.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. Grateful to have you along for the ride as Mike DeCourcy joining us from 2 different locations. Just kidding. I think, there we go. Got one of them. How's Mike doing? Yeah, it's sometimes technology messes with us.
My computer wouldn't load, so I went to the phone, and then you went right to break. So then I didn't know how to turn the connection off from the phone. That was the problem. I thought just closing out would do it, but no, you're persistent.
First world problems, right?
Yes.
First of all, how was your stay in Indianapolis? I did not get to see you. I hate that, but I watched a lot of it when you were on the Big Ten dais there. But a pretty damn good tournament, to be honest with you. Some good games that we got to see played. It was good to see Michigan kind of come back. I thought Maryland was my pick to win it, and they deserve to get beat. When you let a guy go 94 freaking feet and don't stand in front of him, I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on, somebody.
Jim, I remember it was early 2000s. Duke was playing out at Maui, and I think they were playing Seton Hall, and it was really close. Might have even been an overtime. I'd have to look it up, but Seton Hall had one of those situations, and Duke installed two players at the midcourt line, one on the right side and one on the left side of the center circle. And the job there was just turn them. That's all you have to do is turn them one time, and it changes the entire play. Yes. You cannot let him go straight down the floor. You have to be there to turn him. It's that simple. And you can do it because if you're in position, he has to avoid you. And that's all you need.
Free throw line. Two guys at the free throw line on each side is all it takes.
Well, I think you need to do it sooner, because if you do it at the free throw line, he could take the shot. I mean, he could be Chris Jenkins.
Right. Yeah.
So it has to be a direct pass. If he wants to take the shot from Holloman range, okay, you can live with that. But you can't let him go all the way down the floor. And and the way they set up, they had two defenders who were out of the play within half a second because they both came toward him and he went past. That doesn't help you. There has to be an obstacle that he has to avoid. Now, if he turns, he still may get a good shot, but he's not going to get a layup. Once he turns, he loses the time. He loses momentum. He has to reimagine his route. But if he's just running in a straight line, and you know that at the rim, those guys are they're going to be screened. Somebody like Julian Reese, Derek Queen's going to have trouble getting into the play because Vlad Golden or Danny Wolf is going to screen at the rim. And those screens, much different. They're much differently officiated than screens on the perimeter. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but the screens inside, they'll let them not only set up, but they'll let them move the player too. When you're trying to set a screen for a layup like that underneath the bucket, they'll let you move them as if you were boxing out. They'll let you if you move on a perimeter screen, they're going to call it. But if you have somebody on your back and you back up a little bit like you're going to get a rebound, they don't call that. So you have to have the players in position so that doesn't become an issue.
Yeah, it was just how games go. I mean, I'm sure it's a learning lesson for them when you move forward. Block him out.
I would think. Kevin did say afterward, he said something like, one more of these, and who knows, because he was the victim on the Holloman shot, and he was obviously the victim Saturday with terrific play by Michigan going coast to coast.
Well, now that the NCAA field has been screwed and set up and robbed by Mr. Bubba Cunningham, who had nothing to do because I walked out of the room. I had nothing. I know nothing. Colonel Schultz. It was like Colonel Schultz. Mike will be back with us here in a second. He dropped out. But Bubba Cunningham is the athletics director for the University of North Carolina and happens to be the chair committee for the NCAA Selection Committee. And anytime your school is being discussed, you leave the room. Big deal. You're the chairman. They know you're the chairman. You're gonna. It's just a joke. There is no excuse, no reason that can be offered. None that has been offered on how North Carolina can get in over those teams. Mike joining us back here in a second. He's having some connection issues. Mike, I was talking about North Carolina, obviously, and there's no way, any way possible that their inclusion can be justified, that it can be explained. This is one that's not even close to me. When you are 1-12 in quad one games and you play in probably the worst P4 conference, the worst that conference has been in its history, maybe.
Yes.
And then you have West Virginia is the team that got screwed out of this without question. But it's also Xavier and Texas. I don't know how either of those three got in, but North Carolina is the clear one that stands out because there's no argument for them. I don't see an argument at all, but I want, and that's why you are the man that can bring the other side.
Let me paint a scenario for you. 1-12 against quad one, 8-0 against quad two with 4 field wins in the quad two. I can live with that.
What about the quad three?
No, I mean, I'm saying let's just say quads 3 and 4 are clean, which they weren't.
They weren't.
But let's just say they are. I'm trying to build a case wherein the 1-12 would be acceptable. Okay. Yeah. So 1-12, 8-0 against quad two with 4 field wins, meaning you beat 4 teams that made it, and not made it because they had auto bids, but because they were, like UC San Diego,
their way in.
But they were in. That is an acceptable resume to me. If you're 1-12, but you did that. But 1-12 against quad one, and then 8-0, I think it was, against quad two with 0 field wins in the quad two. 0. There were no NCAA tournament teams in their quad two. They tried to paper over it by saying quad two counts, and it does if you've got quad one achievement. What it usually comes down to, Jim, on the these last several teams is if you're kind of vacant, but not empty, like not vacant's not the word, but kind of light on quad one, but quad two makes up for it. Like Indiana would be an example of that. They were 4-12 against quad one. It's not great, but they had some achievement in quad two. The numbers come a little bit closer to 500, and at least you did some here's the thing. The Ohio State wins don't count as field wins because they didn't make it. But they're superior to beating teams that are way out of the field, like NC State or whoever. I'm trying to think of who else was on their list of not Wake, because Wake was somewhat in the picture. But Wake was Carolina's. Thank goodness for Wake, because Carolina got like 2 of their best wins against Wake, which was like the 70th team in the country. That's how pathetic their resume was. Jim, I will say this, and I have said this. I've been doing the brackets now with a tournament, because I did it in 1920, no tournament. So I got it all right that year. And so I've been doing them where there's actually been a tournament for 5 years. I've been following it. So I describe that as being neck deep in this. I've been at worst chest deep to waist deep in the whole process for 30 years, because I've been at the Sporting News for that long. And I've been at least knee deep in it for another 8 or 9 years before that, because I was covering teams on a daily basis for newspapers. So it's always been something that I've paid attention to. And I can't remember a team with a worse resume than Carolina getting into the field. I can't remember. They try to give you the predictive metrics and say, oh, look, predictive metrics, but you're not supposed to make it into the field on your predictive metrics. You know who says you're not supposed to make it into the field on predictive metrics? The king of predictive metrics, Ken Pomeroy. Ken Pomeroy says, no, you're not. You shouldn't do that. You should not use my ratings to get a team in the field. It shouldn't be done. He told the NCAA that at the what we call the analytics meeting in 2017 or 2018. He was there. I was there sitting right next to him, and he said, and I was surprised. I was surprised that he was willing to acknowledge that how you perform in predictive metrics should not get you in the field. He believes there's a value to it, or he wouldn't have built a career around it. But he doesn't believe that that's how you should get into the field. And that's the only thing they could point to if you look at the resume ranks, and Bart Torvik, who's whose T rank predictive metric is now on the team sheet, does a page that ranks that allows you, without having to do the math, to see the average of each team's predictive ranking and their resume ranking. The metrics that go into the resume ranking would be a KPI from Kevin Pauga, strength of record from ESPN, and WAB, wins above bubble. Those are now the three. And if you look, and you can use Bart's tool, he calls it team sheet ranking, I think, is how he is what you find it under his Funalytics link on his page. And it says team sheet rank, and it does the math for you. I was using my iPhone, wearing it out, until my great friend Harold Shelton at BTN, our senior researcher, told me about this page. And so you go on it, and it's sortable too. So you go on and you press the resume number as what you want to see, and then it'll rank the resumes for you. Like, because if your number is 44, does that mean you're 44th? Not necessarily, because the averages might work out differently. So it ranks it for you if you press the number above or the letter above the resume rank. And I looked at, so I have it right in front of me. How does Carolina's resume rank? Well, it ranks behind West Virginia and Indiana. It's not a lot, but it's behind. And when you add in the fact that its resume number is not superior, and the one win against the field, and the 1-12 against quad one, and the fact that if you want to talk about, oh, they got hot and they won down the stretch, Jim, there's 7 consecutive wins prior to the Duke loss at home that ended the regular season. They won 7 consecutive games in February and early March, and they made a big deal about that. A lot of people who were pushing them for a spot made a big deal about that. The average net rank of those 7 ACC victims was 144. Does that sound good? It's not good. You want to know how you want to know how not good it is? You know who the low out of the, okay, I think there's 18 teams now. Is it in the, there's 18 teams in the ACC. There are 18 in the Big Ten. That's 36. There are 16 in the SEC. That's 52 teams, right? The lowest ranked of those 52 teams, 3 of the 3 other major football, basketball conferences, lowest ranked 117. So the average team they beat is not within 30 spots of, it's like playing Washington 7 times in a row, and you still don't have as difficult a game in that stretch. I mean, you play 7 times in a row. If you're in the Big Ten, you play Washington, and you've played a more difficult schedule than Carolina did in that 7-game win streak. How about that? They beat one team all year long, one team that was rated in the top 40 of the net. One team. Not in the field, not in quad one team that was rated in the top 40 of the net.
And my question is the same as Andy's. No one's going to be held accountable for this, because this was blatant. Blatant. Now, I don't know that this is true, or whether it's for him personally or for his team, but I saw something yesterday about 100 and something thousand at North Carolina. I thought North Carolina was getting for just being a participant in the tournament. That was part of their, but is there a bonus for him? That
I don't know the answer to that. I did see the report. I don't know. I can't verify it. I don't have the time or interest.
Right. But if that turned out to be true, that would even look way worse.
I will say that the fact that it hasn't been debunked is problematic, because it's been a day and a half. But I will say that whatever happened on Sunday, that once he became a member of the committee, if that bonus exists in his contract, it should have been very public that he divested of it, so to speak. Like, while I am on the committee, this will not be part of my contract. Even if it costs me $500,000, because I'm on the committee for 5 years, and they can make it all 5 years. he should never have allowed that. If, again, I don't know that it exists, but if it exists, it should have been very public on day one. I'm not taking that. They can do whatever with it, but I'm not taking it because I am involved in the process now that sets not only the selections, but also the seeding. So I'm not involved. The part about he's not in the room is 100% true. He's not.
Well, I believe that, but I don't give that's a crock of crap because I don't care. It's it's like the president. Well, I'm going to step out of the room, wink, wink, while you guys handle business. I mean, he's the big guy. Not that,
but I think the way I look at it is more like this. Okay, when he steps out of the room once the Carolina issue becomes in play, he doesn't jump on a plane back to Chapel Hill. He goes out, he has a cup of coffee or a Diet Coke in my case.
Starts thinking about where he's going to spend his bonus money.
And then he walks back in, and they have to look at him in the eye and say, hey, Bubba, sorry, man, just couldn't do it. Yeah. And you're 1-12 against quad one. That's what happens. And I think that makes a difference. Yes, I've always thought that in those circumstances, and it's rare because a lot of times the chair of a committee is there have been times when it's somebody that's on a league champion. It's not an issue, or that chair is from a mid-major conference that is almost certainly going to be a one-bid league. So it rotates. It's different. I've known people on the committee that are one of the reasons I have a real problem with this, Jim, the biggest reason I have a real problem with this, beyond the fact that Indiana's players and West Virginia's players should be preparing to play in the tournament because they earned it. The biggest problem I have with this is that the committee has spent almost the full last 2 decades with Dan Gavitt and before him, Greg Shaheen, and with David Warlock there the whole time. These are people that I would trust with my life. They are some of the best people you could ever meet. And they have spent a lot of time and a lot of energy building up the credibility of the committee by allowing people like me and Jerry Palm and Joe and a lot of other reporters from various outlets to sit in that room in February. They haven't done this in a while, but they had built up all this trust in the committee. And we got to understand how it works. And we got to understand how the bracketing works and how they don't sit there and say, hey, we can put Rick Pitino and John Calipari. They don't do that. They don't have to. It happens. But all this trust they build up over almost 2 decades. I think it started around 2006, 2007, somewhere around there. All that trust was eroded on Sunday night. Maybe not all of it, but a huge chunk of it. I mean, the mountain is still there, but man, a lot of this hillside washed off. And that's my biggest problem with what happened. And they decided to do that. Why? I mean, what did Carolina do to earn this bid? They did absolutely nothing to earn this bid. And they got it over teams that did. I mean, West Virginia, most obviously, quite clearly was a field team. It's not that one.
And I don't think West Virginia should have even been a play-in team either.
I had them. If you measured their resume against Vanderbilt, which I did, I settled on Vanderbilt. It was them versus West Virginia. And it was one of them's going to be a 10 and the other one's going to be in play-in because there were no spots on the 11 line for a no play-in team. Once the Mountain West bid expanded with Colorado State and Boise State playing each other. So then I have to seriously look at West Virginia versus Vanderbilt. And West Virginia did come out on the low side of that for me. I think I was the only one that had them in the first four, one of the few. But either way, it was clear like they were the last team that I would have taken out. We'd have had to have 5 bid steals for West Virginia to miss. And we only had 1. So out of 249 brackets on the matrix. Now, some of those you can tell by the bracket rankings, they didn't really try that hard. But out of 249, 243 had West Virginia in. Out of 249, so that's about 98%, something like that. The math people don't yell at me if I'm wrong, but it was about that. 243 out of 249. Indiana was on 214. 214 out of 249.
How
So
many was North Carolina on?
Oh, you're gonna love this number. Wait till you hear it. It is just classic. North Carolina was on 57. 57. Xavier was on 104. Texas was on 95. I was one of the 95 that had Texas. I had Texas, Indiana, and West Virginia all in the field. North Carolina was out. Xavier was out, and it just like the Xavier didn't deserve it either, but they at least played quality teams and had some minimal success in their circumstance. But in the case of Indiana, like no matter how many different ways you break it down, the only thing you come up with that justifies their inclusion is their predictive average. It's the only thing. And I will tell you that on Saturday, when I did my bracket, Saturday morning, trying to get it done before I had to go do BTN, I looked at it and I looked at that predictive average, which was around 30, 33, something like that. And I said, that's the number. That's the number they're going to justify them with. And then I put it out there, and then I sat on it all day. And the next night I just thought, they can't. How will they look in the mirror if they do this? They can't do it. They even if they can't, even if they could use that to justify it, they can't do it because it's so obvious that they have no business in the field. And they did it.
And we always have great talk after the selections because there's always a couple of teams, but it's always within the realm of understanding. I think they should have been. Well, this team could have been. This is not this. This is such an outlier. It's like a moonshot. And but the worst thing is there's not going to be any repercussions.
Yesterday, I had conversations on Twitter, etc. Oh, we always argue about the last few teams. No, I never do. I mean, I like last year, Oklahoma, I had in, Virginia, I had out. And that was pretty much the majority opinion, although not as overwhelming as what we have to now. A lot of bracket analysts missed Oklahoma last year, had him in, and Virginia not in, and it was reversed. But Virginia's inclusion was justifiable. It just wasn't what I would have done, but it was justifiable. I had no argument with it. The same in 2023, I believe it was, when Notre Dame got in over Texas A&M. Maybe it was 22. But Notre Dame got in over Texas A&M, and I missed that one. That was the only team I missed that year. And I had it reversed because both of their resumes were deficient, but they played each other on a neutral floor. And Texas A&M had won, and I think it was a decent margin. It wasn't a one-pointer or whatever. And so I thought, well, how do you not use that as a tie break now when both have deficient resumes? They went with Notre Dame. Fine. Okay. I didn't argue about that because neither team was definitively in, neither team was definitively out. They were both flavors of ice cream, I call it. You prefer chocolate chip, I prefer Rocky Road, whatever. Okay, that's fine. This is not that. This is ice cream on the one hand and a bowl of rocks on the other. And you're going to tell us to eat the bowl of rocks.
I like that. Go eat a bowl of rocks. I'm going to start using that phrase. Go eat a bowl of rocks. Yeah, it's just AJ. I looked at AJ's comment. The UNC case does nothing to help the credibility of the NCAA, which credibility in NCAA, not in the same sentence a lot anymore. But whether it's football or basketball, this is why conspiracies exist, because some are true. Well, I guess there's some truth to that in this deal. But my last thing on it is, what if it comes out that Bubba Cunningham indeed did receive a 6-figure bonus for North Carolina making the field?
Well, it's a terrible look if indeed it's true. Absolutely. And again, I have a problem if that exists. I have a problem with it even if Carolina is this year's Duke. It's still wrong. Like Duke doesn't need any of us, even with or without the automatic bid, to tell us they're a tournament team. And I would still have the same. And Carolina certainly has had those teams in the past. It's been a minute, but 2009 Carolina, it would be a problem. 2005 Carolina, it would be a problem. It should not be in force while you are a member of the committee. Let me just say this, Bubba or nobody, like any person that's on that committee should have no such bonuses in force while they are a member of that committee. Ever. It does. Like, can you have that bonus if you're not on the committee? Whatever. I don't care what they pay you for. But if you are part of that process, that should be suspended during the period that you are part of that process. And no, here's a $500,000 bonus because you didn't take that bonus. No, it goes away. It's a sacrifice you make. Sorry, if you don't want to make the sacrifice, don't join the committee. It's okay. There are other people willing to do it. Last night, someone on Twitter said that they should basically put bracket people on the committee. Me, Joe, whatever. And
I believe that as well, because I think that you guys are impartial.
That's what I said. My friend Seth Davis said it's the worst idea ever. And I'm like, wait a second.
Are you out of your mind? I think it's the best idea. Get these damn ADs off that everyone have a vested interest. I
got accused by a lot of Xavier people over the weekend of being anti-Xavier.
Well, of course, if you're not doing their favors, they're going to call you that.
They were pretty vile in some instances over the weekend in their criticism, some of them, and it just blew me away, Jim. Because I'll tell you, I have known Sean Miller since he was in high school. I covered him at Pitt. We have an excellent relationship. I'm happy Xavier's in the field, but I wouldn't have put them there. I wouldn't have put them there if I were on the committee. I would not have voted for Xavier because they didn't earn it to the same degree as Indiana and West Virginia and Texas earned it. If they had beaten Marquette in the quarters of the Big East tournament, I think that my opinion about that would have changed, but they didn't. And if I have favorites, if I have people that I like, why wouldn't? Because it's not my job. My job is to get it right, and my job is to do the right thing, and that's what I'm going to do. I was really surprised that Seth would think that people like me wouldn't take integrity and no conflict of interest in the room. Hey, Jim, I even said on Twitter, I said, look, Point Park's Division II. I don't have a team. I like the Steelers are not on the board. And Liverpool's not on the board. So I don't have a team. If whoever earns it is going, is the team I would place in the field. And in the case of what I was doing for Fox, I'm trying to anticipate what the committee will do. And so I put Carolina in on Saturday and then rethought it because I thought it was so indefensible that they couldn't do it. But I'm not, if I were on the committee, I wouldn't have had Carolina even under consideration once the Duke game was over and they didn't win again.
Yep, I agree with you. And unfortunately, we'll see if it causes any changes, a ripple effect, and that'll come too late, of course. But regardless, it is what it is, and we'll see. A lot of pressure on North Carolina. They go out and get hammered. Boy, that'll look great.
Yeah, San Diego State's not very good, and they're probably, they're. And the other thing I want to say, because here's what's going to happen: they're going to win a game, and I don't mean just they're going to beat San Diego State. They'll go out and pull an upset in the first round, and then everybody will say, "See." But this should be. I want this on the record now. Advancing in this tournament does not justify an unjustifiable inclusion. Because there are another half dozen teams. Ohio State, can they win a game in this tournament? Yeah, but they didn't belong. They failed when they had the chance to lock it up. They played Iowa, a team that wasn't even in the field. If they advanced through that game, they probably were in the field, but they didn't, and that's why they were out. But could they have won a game in this tournament? Hey, they beat Kentucky. Kentucky's a 3 seed. They beat Purdue at Purdue. Purdue's a 4 seed. So of course they could have won a game in this tournament. I'll tell you who hasn't beaten anybody that's that high on the bracket, and that's North Carolina.
Man, we went way long in that segment. That's going to slow down the availability for the coaching talk, which will not make people happy. But we've got to take a break. We've got the great Mike DeCourcy with us from the Big Ten Fox Networks and the Sporting News. You should be following him and keeping up with his content in the Sporting News. That's free, by the way, people. You don't have to pay for it. You get top quality. How long has the Sporting News been around? 100 years?
Tomorrow, we will have our 139th birthday party.
Holy SH. I'm like, wow. 140 years? Holy smokes.
And contrary to public opinion, I've not been there all 140 years.
Man. So that goes back to let's
like
see.
1880 something. Yeah, 1880.
I was like, wow. That's when the gunfight at the shootout at the OK Corral happened in 1881, man. Did they report on the shootout at the OK Corral?
I don't.
Do we have confirmation? Is there an article? I want to see it.
It was the Bible of baseball then. It wasn't the Bible of the shootout at OK Corral.
Yeah. Hey, we've got to take a quick break, people. Appreciate you being with us here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle along with Mike DeCourcy from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We'll be back in 2 minutes after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Well, man, what a great discussion that was with Mike, and I'm grateful to have him. But unfortunately, we went along with that, and you'll have to catch us on the other side if you want the coaching talk. But that's going to wrap it up for this hour. We've got to I've got to go to a break, and man, that's what happens when you go long and you don't have a producer on site at on a certain day, because they keep me in line. But thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. And we're back with more on the other side right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. Hoping to have Mike for a little longer today. Unfortunately, he had to run. Man, we went so daggone long on that stupid NCAA in North Carolina talk. Didn't get to talk about Indiana's coaching search with Mike, which we will do next time. But Gabriel is up in the next segment, and we will do so at that time. He's pretty much in touch with what's going on. He follows it pretty extensively, even though he's covering the Gators right now. Todd Golden, man, probably the hottest name in college basketball, but he's not going anywhere. He's got a $14 million buyout, first of all. So Florida has a good coach. They've got him locked down. Darren DeVries is a name that has jumped into the fray, maybe not by on purpose, and maybe it may be accurate, it may not. But he is a name that, ironically, he's in his first season at West Virginia, he should have made the tournament in his first year. He got screwed. They're the team that got screwed over by Bubba Cunningham. But guess where he came from? That's right, Drake. He got Drake going. Ben McCollum followed and has kept it rolling. Ironic that if accurate, the two of the potentially 3 top targets are Drake related. But Darren DeVries is available right now. He's done. So there are, if he is truly in the mix, and I don't see why he would not be in the mix, there's conversations going on. Now, guess who else is going to be or is or has talked to him? I don't know where that is. Iowa. Having been a Drake guy, they'd love to have him. They'd love to have Ben McCollum. Iowa is going to end up with probably one of the 2 coaches they want. I would assume that Darren DeVries and Ben McCollum have to be choices 1A and 1B for the Hawkeyes. And it would make perfect sense. And that stuff doesn't work out that way for Indiana for some reason. mainly because Indiana can't get out of their own way. But I think that possibly Ben McCollum and Darren DeVries might be in the Big Ten next year, one way or the other. We don't know that. But if it were someone that is not coaching, like Darren DeVries, he would be the only one I could think of. That could come this week. Now, the others could come next week. After this weekend, the 68 teams will be 16. So it's the likelihood of the coach being available at that point pretty good. If not, he is just having a good run in the NCAA tournament, which makes it look better. Is it Ben McCollum? A lot of people are on that train. Does Darren DeVries, is he a late entrant? Brad Brownell, I think, is still getting interest. Is it none of those three? We're going to have to wait and see. I'm cool with waiting. I really am. I'm kind of enjoying the waiting. I don't want to say watching all of you all melt down, but it can be comical at times. What is comical is all the names that are being thrown out. It's like, oh, I want Bruce Pearl. I want Chris Beard. Oh, don't want Mick Cronin. But no one ever explains why they don't want someone. Well, Mick Cronin wins. I don't think it's necessarily going to be him. I think his buyout may be richer than Indiana wants to deal with. Do they take a risk on? Ben McCollum is a risk. I know he's won big in Division II. I know that he made the step up to Division I at Drake and has done outstanding there. I'm not saying he would not translate to Indiana. I'm pretty opinionated, but on this particular coaching search, there's just been for me, I'm like, all right, let the people who do what they do their job, especially now that it is being done correctly with Scott Dolson running it without all these other hands in the kitchen, sticking a spoon in the sauce, trying to get their ingredients into it. And that's been the problem. Everybody trying to get their ingredients in the stew. That's why it's tasted like crap for 8 years. It's time to make a fresh batch and let the chef take care of preparing the sauce. I don't know where that metaphor came up. That's how this crazy mind of mine works. But I have complete confidence that Scott Dolson knows the gravity of this decision. He knows the gravity of who this next coach is going to be. He knows the gravity of the program and how it is being pulled down. Indiana basketball is a remarkable entity. It almost defies gravity, because if it is sitting up there and its lack of success, its constant missteps, the constant mishires, the constant BS that has gone on with the program has just been pulling on it like a force that is trying to pull it down. But the Indiana program is stronger than most people can imagine. With all of that, it has not been brought down, which is amazing. I got to tell you, I don't know that any of these other big-time programs like Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, if they had gone through what Indiana has gone through for the last 2.5 decades, what would they look like? What would those fan bases look like? I know they'd be hungry, but Indiana's just has been there. Now, they haven't always been there in the right way. They say some stupid stuff sometimes, but they're there. They don't go away. They were there for 6-25 Tom Crean. They've been there. So that's unique. That is unique, and that's real. And Scott Dolson knows that. He's the steward of the entire IU athletics program, which it's football and basketball. Now, I'm not meaning to slight women's basketball. I'm not meaning to slight any baseball, soccer, swimming, which are great sports at Indiana. Very successful. Terry Moore, we don't have to talk about her. Todd Yeagley, multinational champions. Swimming, come on, get out of here. All these Olympians. But it's football and basketball because A, that's where the money is made, and B, those are the faces of your university. That's what people see. If you're successful, you're seen as successful. Indiana, what was Indiana football seen as? A joke. A walking corpse, as I called it. Not anymore. And if Indiana and Scott Dolson can get basketball turned around, which is 1,000 times easier, and it is, Indiana's always going to be a basketball school. Don't kid yourself. It's a basketball state. There's 100 years of tradition in that. That doesn't go away. It does not go away, especially when you have had the success that the Indiana program has had. And when there's no reason that it shouldn't have been continuing. It's almost unbelievable that a program like Indiana has been where it has been. It just makes you shake your head, and it's a shame. But does it turn around this time? I think so. I mean, any good coach, see, that's the problem. They have not had a good coach for 8 years. Archie sucked. Let's be honest. Woody, I'm sorry, he has not been good for Indiana University as a coach. Great player. I'm separating those two. One has nothing to do with the other. But he has not been good for Indiana as a coach. I think that it allowed people to continue to say, do you really want to go to Indiana? Have you watched them play? That's all it would take. Yeah. Have you seen their offense or lack thereof? Yeah. Do you think you're going to get shots off that offense where the ball has to run through the paint? Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. But my point being is, it doesn't matter if it's Ben McCollum. It doesn't matter if it's Darren DeVries. It doesn't matter if it's Brad Brownell. It doesn't matter if it's Mick Cronin or whomever, whatever name. Greg McDermott might be in there. It's just going to be those guys have all been successful. They're all successful right now. Right now. Every one of those coaches is having more success in this season than Mike Woodson had in his 4-year tenure. Period. They have all put together teams that play the way they're supposed to play. They all have a system. They all play defense. They all do the things you're supposed to do, that you need to do to win. Indiana didn't. Indiana was so miscombobulated. It was just, they were parts and not a whole. They were a group of parts that didn't fit together, and too often just when they won, it was usually talent. talent getting hot. That's just my take on that. But I think it's going to get better for you is my thoughts on that. That's the hard truth, people. It is going to be better. And the thing is, it can be better next season. I'm not stuck on this thing that it should have been Dusty May. Again, I don't care who they hire, but it should have been Dusty May from the standpoint of Indiana should have had the balls to do this last year. Not because of all just the wins and losses, but because of obviously you could see what was going on and that it wasn't working. I'm going to take a break so we can get K-Bro up, baby. It's always great. Any day is a great day when K-Bro's in it. We'll be back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theUglyGrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, and the Hard Truth is we got K-Bro today. What's up, my friend?
How are you there, Jim? Happy post-St. Patrick's Day to you. And,
I'm glad you brought that up because yesterday it slipped my mind during the show. Nobody mentioned it. Not a single person commenter said a word about St. Patrick's Day. And I thought about it last night. I couldn't believe it. I'm James Patrick Coyle. I'm Irish, and that one slipped by somehow. But
yeah, Kevin is a good Irish name too. And I got my corned beef and cabbage last night. But I think too, all the Selection Sunday, Monday reaction talk, and for you, obviously the end of the season. How did North Carolina get in the tournament, by the way? What a
dude, we spent 40 minutes with Mike DeCourcy talking about that. Mike has never said a bad word about anybody, and he didn't here, but he was pretty clear that North Carolina did not belong in the tournament, which we all know, but he is a well-respected bracket analyst, and he pointed out that like 200 and so many had West Virginia in, and then right behind that was Indiana, Texas, Xavier, UNC, all behind those teams. I don't know. There's always discussion. I get that. I don't have a problem with that. North Carolina was obviously a screw job, and there are reports that Bubba Cunningham has a bonus tied to North Carolina making the NCAA tournament. If that turns out to be true, they're going to have to enact some rules for committee members. I don't think ADs belong on the committee personally. There's no way that you're not going to have an AD who is not influenced to boost his own team if possible. So get him the hell off.
Yeah. And was it the Wisconsin AD? Wisconsin was a 3 seed and their AD was on it. And Memphis's AD.
But Wisconsin deserves to be a 3 seed, I think.
It's Michigan got a 5, right? And Wisconsin got a 3.
They got screwed. Michigan got screwed. Can you ever imagine a Big Ten tournament winner being a 5 seed?
Yeah. I mean, I do think too, obviously, and we've seen this a lot with the committee too. It's hard, especially when the Big Ten tournament finishes on a Sunday, and so does the SEC, that it's hard to move things around at the end. And I think, maybe that happened with Michigan. And heck, it happened with Florida because, truth be told, they were the 4th number 1 seed based on how they performed in the SEC tournament. They should have probably been ahead of at least Houston, maybe Auburn. Maybe they should have been number 2 overall. But instead they got stuck. They're going to go to San Francisco as the 4th number 1 seed. And we'll see how they perform out there. But obviously, first things first, they got to go to Raleigh and face Norfolk State and possibly UConn and Danny Hurley in the wings.
Yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. And then now Indiana in the midst of their coaching search, as is Iowa. And ironically, 2 of the names that have been bouncing around for Indiana are now also for Iowa. Ben McCollum at Drake, but from Iowa City, and Darren DeVries, who was at West Virginia, formerly at Drake. So I think it's going to work out great for Iowa. I think they end up getting one of those 2 guys. I don't know where Indiana goes. I don't know if one of those 2 guys are going to be Indiana's or Brad Brownell or Mick Cronin or someone that we're not thinking of. The only one that's available this minute is Darren DeVries. He's at an advantage of sorts because he could talk to Indiana and Iowa, and if one of them likes him or he likes them, he's like, boom, let's do this now before Ben McCollum becomes available.
Well, your show is broadcast in Evansville, and that's where Brad Brownell is from. What are your thoughts about him at Clemson? He's got a little bit of a resume. Clemson's a hard place to win. He took him to Elite 8 last year. They beat Duke. He's an older coach, though. Does he excite the fan base? What are your thoughts? I know Rick Bozich has been reporting him as a pretty strong candidate.
Well, the at least on here, people are that he doesn't move the needle a lot, but I think part of that is because they just don't see him as a sexy pick. They look at how hard it's been to win in the ACC, but you don't think the ACC sucks right now. Granted, they're the worst conference in college basketball. That is not how it has been. They were the dominant conference for a long, long time. So when you have to recruit and play against Duke and North Carolina, when they're both at their premium, which he has done against Krzyzewski and Roy Williams, and the rest of the ACC that was tougher. Louisville, he was good. So
Virginia under Tony Bennett had a very good run.
A national champion. So it was the hardest conference to coach in. Now that it's eased up, his success level has shot up. So I do not have. If Scott Dolson thinks he's the selection, I'm going to trust Scott Dolson that he has done his due diligence and found the reason to make him the coach. I don't know who it's going to be. Everybody likes to keep throwing out rumors. I'm not doing that. That's crap. Chris Beard is not going to happen. People have talked about that. I've got someone who really bangs on me because I'm not pushing for him. I'm not pushing for anybody. It's not for my job to do. I'll report about it. I'll tell you about it. I'll give you my opinions about it. But that's it. Is Chris Beard would he be a good selection? Probably. I mean, from the outside, from the eye test. But what is it that I don't know? I don't know what I don't know, and neither do fans. And that's where they kind of lose the connection.
Well, it's fun to speculate about. But what are your thoughts about this tournament, Jim? And certainly people down here are very excited. They think
they should be.
They the way Florida performed over the weekend, Ken Pom right now, they're the number one offense in the country. And they certainly looked at Nashville over the weekend from watching them in terms of, their ability to push the floor, push the pace. Walter Clayton Jr. is playing terrific. Will Richard, they're 8 deep. They got a lot of options. But, I did a bracket breakdown. I think Texas Tech, Grant McCasland, that's a very dangerous team in their region. And
that's another name that was big bounced around. I haven't heard it of much, but
yeah, Graham McCasland is a heck of a coach. I remember 4 years ago in the bubble, believe it or not, it's crazy to think it's been that long, that tournament in Indy, but he was coaching North Texas at the time, and they beat Purdue in that tournament. I think it was a 13-4 game, back when Purdue both had Edey and Trevion Williams, and they were just a fine-tuned offensive team that was just too quick for Purdue at that time. And he's, obviously taken it to Texas Tech, and heck of a coach, Naismith top 10 finalist, along with obviously Todd Golden and Rick Pitino, the Godfather, who has St. John's as the Big East champions. And they're the 2 seed in the bracket. And that'd be another dangerous game for Florida because of they know Florida's Walter Clayton's weaknesses from coaching him at Iona.
Hey, Rick Pitino is the best coach in college basketball today. And if anyone doubts that, they just don't know what they're talking about. Dan
Hurley was the best coach. He said it. He told the official.
Well, that's his opinion. No, he said, I'm the best coach in college basketball. They did a thing on 60 Minutes. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. I get it. He's got this personality, off the court, different guy. But boy, on the court, he's a freaking madman. He loses himself, which is cool. Very, very fun to watch. Yeah. I love this tournament. I think it's going to be awesome because there is no favorite. Auburn was looking like that, but Florida, I would put Florida over Auburn right now. If I had to pick a favorite, I would pick Florida right now. That's who I would pick. But any given game, bad matchup, a team can go down. But the SEC, Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, I don't see them getting to the Elite Eight. They don't play defense at all. They're like Iowa on crack. But Florida put like 104 points on Alabama last time they played. So they're scoring 90 and giving up 100. That math does not work. But the Big Ten, there's not a lot there. Although Michigan played well in winning the Big Ten tournament. I like how their team is. I love Danny Wolf. That dude is he's an NBA first rounder. Maryland was my pick to win the Big Ten. They could have probably done that had they made one stinking defensive play. How the hell you let a guy go 94 feet unblocked? I don't know. But Wisconsin, boy, do not undercut Wisconsin and Michigan State. I like them because they lost in the Big Ten tournament. A lot of champions lose in their conference tournaments.
Yep.
Get a little more rest. Use that and go forward. Michigan State they don't have a superstar. And
7 of the last 10 national champions have lost their conference tournaments. That's an interesting stat right there. I used to think, and I do it all the time in my brackets, I always screw up. I always think the momentum from the conference tournaments is going to carry over. And inevitably, like last year, Auburn won the SEC tournament, boom, bounced by Yale in the first round.
I think it's a wear down.
It
Wisconsin,
yeah.
Wisconsin's a great example, though. they didn't win the Big Ten tournament, but the reason they lost it was maybe they were exhausted. They played 4 straight games. And I'm like, boy, I wonder if they wish they would have lost the day before just to get some rest in.
I do think if you're good enough, though, like UConn, last year they won their conference tournament and they rolled. And history for Florida, the last 2 times that they've won their SEC tournament, 2014 they got to the Final Four, 2007 they won it all. So I think if you're good enough, you're going to do it. And I think the fact that Florida's a 1 seed too, obviously helps because you get to 16 to start. So you get a little more, cushion there in terms of rest going into that Sunday game.
Absolutely. Who is your pick for Final Four? I know you have Florida in it, but who else?
Yeah, no, I've got 3 SEC teams. I got Florida, Auburn, Tennessee.
Man, come on. Are you kidding me?
I'm telling you, Jim, it's the best conference in America. So
I don't doubt that. I agree. It is. Although,
and I do think like Rick Barnes, I think this is just one of those years where, sometimes a coach and a program gets there so long they finally break through. And I think that bracket sets up. I'm not sold on Houston. I don't think Houston's all that. And they faltered in some tournaments lately. So I'm going to go with Tennessee and Duke. I've got Duke and Auburn, and I've got Duke winning it all. So,
oh, get out of here!
Yeah,
Duke is not.
Flag will be healthy by then, and Duke's got a lot of answers, and I think they're gonna do it. But it'll be a nice year for Florida. They'll get to the Final Four. If Florida slips up, it'll be either Texas Tech or St. John's that takes them out, I think.
Philip wants to know, okay, bro, did the SEC deserve 14 teams? And I stress that because I'm thinking they deserved 13 teams. Oklahoma had no.
You got to look at Oklahoma's non-conference.
I know, but they went 6 and 12 in the ACC, man.
They beat Michigan. They beat Louisville. They beat. They've got about 3 or 4 really good ones, and Louisville, off the top of my head, it's Louisville. You want a team? I would say Texas more than Oklahoma if you wanted to take.
What? And that's actually who went 6 and 12.
Yeah, I think they both did. I think both Texas and Oklahoma did. So I think of those 2, Oklahoma's got a better non-conference resume. Jeremiah Fears. If you go by the eye test, he's one of the best young point guards in the country. I don't have a problem with Oklahoma. I would probably more have a problem with Texas. Texas lost at Georgia at home near the end of the year. So I would say 13, but you just have to look at the non-conference, records, and that's what you go on. And it was a historic year for the SEC in terms of just how they beat up the rest of the country non-conference. So, but you have to base it off that. And based off that, I would have to say the SEC's pretty darn deserving of what they have in the field. But I do think some teams are teetering. I wouldn't be surprised to see Kentucky lose early. They look like a mess. They probably shouldn't have beaten Oklahoma. I was at that game. They have no point guard play left. They're really banged up. Don't expect Kentucky to go anywhere in this tournament. I think they're highly overrated as a seed based on how they're playing now compared to maybe where they were playing earlier in the season. And injuries have a lot to do with that with them. But, I don't think that they're going to do much in the tournament. I don't think Arkansas is going to stick around. I think Kansas is going to beat them. And I think you will see some early exits. Some people will say that, the SEC was overrated, but I think a lot of that's going to be a byproduct of a lot of those teams. But I think the elite SEC teams, like I said, Tennessee, Auburn, Florida, are all going to play well. I agree with you on Alabama, though. Grant Nelson got hurt in that game against Florida where they put up 104. They say he might come back on Sunday. He could help with the defensive rebounding, but overall, they're not a good enough defensive team to make it, back to a Final Four this year, I think.
See, who's your fan? 31 thinks that Brad Brownell from Clemson will have an extension coming soon. Well, if he doesn't get the Indiana job, he might. We'll have to see. Aaron says the Dolson needs to put that Michael Jackson song band on the big screen at Assembly Hall. The lyrics are perfect. I do not know that song, so we'll have to. Philip asking, who is my first choice of the viable coach? I do not have a pick. I'm telling you. I think people are having a hard time believing. I don't care. It's not for me to decide, and I really don't care.
You don't care. It's Indiana basketball, though. It's what you grew up with.
But I cover it, brother. I don't.
Yeah,
it's just. Would you, if Florida was hiring somebody, would you have who would your pick be, or would you approach it differently?
I think they've got a pretty good one with Todd Golden, but
no, they do. And the fact is how young he is. I mean, where was he an assistant to?
Which is why I think McCollum would be a good play because of young. And again, Jim, I've said this how many times have I said this from my days back covering with Archie Miller and the beginning? Indiana's approach is just in the Stone Age. They don't shoot 3-pointers. It's not modern basketball. Not an up-tempo system. An entertaining system. You need that in today's college basketball.
And with Ben McCollum, you have to wonder, like I said, he's from Iowa City. Iowa has an opening right now. I mean, you want a homecoming, boom, that would work out for Iowa. Or they have their choice between McCollum and probably Darren DeVries. Darren DeVries does not look like a bad selection at all. He did well at Drake and left that a great position for Ben McCollum. Then he goes on to West Virginia. Should have made the tournament in his first year. He got screwed out of that, but had a good year. I think he would be good. I don't have a problem with Brad Brownell. People are all hung up that he didn't succeed during that high time of the ACC. Well, you know what? Neither did a lot of other people. Again, you all forget, you don't understand. Duke was it. And Nike was plying them with whatever they needed. The players, UNC was it. North Carolina State was even, Wake Forest. It was a very, very difficult conference to do anything in. And like you said, who the hell wants to go to Clemson, which is a football school? It's not. Yeah, it was not the same situation. I think McCollum would be, I think that Brad Brownell would be a fine choice as well. I don't have the negativity towards these guys that the fans do. Mick Cronin would be a good selection as a coach. Now, his personality, it looks a little prickly, which maybe that's fine. Maybe Indiana needs a little of that. They've had a little too much of the soft grandpa.
You think Woody was a soft grandpa?
Oh, absolutely soft grandpa. I mean,
towards the players though, but he was
the teams had no discipline. It was a wreck.
Yeah. Well, listen. They brought home a guy, a former player. It's just hard for an NBA coach to come back to college and succeed. I mean, we've seen it over and over again. It's a different world. And it's got to be like the recruiting has to be 24/7, right? You need the energy to hop on private planes, to go to places, but have your face shown. And apparently
you have to realize it. You have to understand it and accept it. He didn't. He ignored it. He knew better. No matter what, he didn't learn. He never learned. And that's the aggravating thing. Yeah. Coming in your first year, like, okay, well, we got to change some things. No changes were ever made. He kept his freaking staff from Archie Miller. Then when it was,
poor. Other than Jalen Hood-Schifino, very poor evaluation of guards.
Speaking of Jalen Hood-Schifino, dude is killing it for Philadelphia.
Yeah,
didn't he have 30 points last night?
Yeah, no, he's a stud, and that was that one year when they had him and Trace Jackson Davis, where that was the height of the Woodson era. They got to the round of 32, and then they ran into a buzzsaw because Miami was playing pretty well and had a little more continuity on that team and a little more talent, and that was you were in beautiful Albany, New York, right, a couple of years ago, and but that was a problem.
Last time I saw John Feinstein in Albany.
I know, very, very sad. And but that's the thing, as fans, you're entitled to progress. Woodson did not build upon that. You had a round of 32. That's the time he had to strike. He had to, upload the talent level, get a couple of more Jalen Hood-Schifino type players.
And he did until he lost them.
He did not do that, either through misevaluation or not recruiting hard enough. They didn't take advantage of that window.
He lost Liam McNeely because of that. But he didn't get Derek Queen because I think that Derek Queen looked and saw that I'm not going to play there. Even though big men had succeeded very well at Indiana, that was a little surprising. But yes, if he gets Derek Queen and Liam McNeely, that's a huge difference, a gigantic difference. It makes all the difference in the world. Not being able to get them and then going out and just buying a hodgepodge mixed match of players. Yeah, that worked out great.
No question. It, Jim, it's just one of those things where, you just didn't have the continuity, the connection, and you got what you got this year, which was 19-13. And I guess they're not going to the postseason, right? They have no interest in playing in the NIT. So this is
well, no, they would have to play in the Crown if they played in anything. Which are you familiar with the Crown tournament?
Thomas Crown Affair or no? What's this?
No, it's so funny. It's a new tournament that is headed by Fox. It's an agreement between the Big 10, the Big 12, and the Big East. And the top two teams of each of those conferences are supposed to play by commitment, which would have put Indiana in that. But they are not playing in any postseason tournaments whatsoever. And so I would assume Ohio State and maybe Nebraska, whoever's next, will play in that. It's a 16-team field in Las Vegas.
Oh, that's not bad, though. You get to go to Vegas and
it would have been okay.
The kids will get to do the pool parties during the their off time, and it'll be a grand old time. Spring break in Vegas wouldn't be better.
It wouldn't. Well, let me tell you. But here's the thing: do you know when this tournament starts? March 31st.
Wow.
The transfer portal opens a week from yesterday. What the hell? I don't understand starting a tournament 2 weeks after the NCAA tournament starts.
Yeah, it's nuts, Jim.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but I guess they know what they're doing. So, what are your thoughts on Ben McCollum?
Well, bright, young, innovative coach. I think
his style. His style has been the only negative of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what don't you like about his style?
Well, it's a very, very slow, methodical, Bo Ryan type of play. 55-54. Virginia. That I think does he run the pack line as well? I hope not. But it's just very methodical, but successful. And winning matters, but boy. But maybe that would change a little bit if he was at Indiana and able to get a higher caliber of elite players that would allow them to add other things. Maybe that would make it more formidable.
I think there are a lot of different ways you can win, but I do think that Bob Knight came in right as a defensive coach in the 70s, and before, right, weren't they talking about under Branch McCracken, it was the Hurrying Hoosiers, and people kind of scoffed at this defensive coach coming in here and look at what Knight did. But Knight also had the motion offense. And I think in an ideal world, you want balance, and you want a coach that can win games in different ways. I think that's the main thing. But yeah, entertaining and modern. I've mentioned that before. I'd like to see almost like a Crean type coach, someone that's going to get up and down the floor a little bit. A style that athletes want to play. I think, and Dusty would have been really good in that regard, and it's just a shame that, the timing didn't work out.
Well, the timing didn't work out because Indiana doesn't have the onions to do what they should have done a year ago. And I will never come off of that. They should have made the move because there is too much other crap that it goes into the thinking, not just the wins and the losses. It's a lot of other stuff that Woodson.
I think it was hard though, because Woodson had built up equity and you felt like you needed to give him one more year because of the 2 NCAA tournament appearances. You couldn't fire him off one bad year. But yeah, that was the foresight in that was lacking. And it's like I said, it's going to be one of those, decisions that you look back on in time and that they'll regret. But at the time, could you have fired Mike Woodson last year? I don't know. I know there were some fans for it.
Yes.
All right.
Hell yes. If you want to say, you know what, we appreciate, respect it, but Indiana needs to get back to being Indiana as soon as possible, and we just don't think the program is heading in the right direction. Dusty May was available. Let me tell you, when Indiana fans watched Michigan cut down the nets Sunday in Indianapolis, that would have been Indiana. Dusty May brought 10 of the 13 players in to that Michigan team, including Vladislav Golden, including Danny Wolf, including all of those stars. He brought them there. They would have come to Indiana, and that would have been Indiana winning its first stinking Big Ten tournament ever. So they had a chance to be right where they wanted to be, missed the boat. And see right here, he says, I'm Brownell's PR guy. I don't have a pick, but all of a sudden I'm on the Brownell train. Not true, but so. What if
is there another DeVries and McCollum? Is there Pat Kelsey type out there, you think? Because that Louisville,
well, that's a great question, but I don't know, because I didn't think of Pat Kelsey last year. I never freaking heard of Pat Kelsey.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I was started thinking, I'm like, has anybody thought about Pat Kelsey? He grew up an Indiana fan. When they played Indiana in the Bahamas, he talked about growing up watching IU, being an IU fan, being a Steve Alford fan, and watching with his dad. And it's hard to get a first-year guy out of their school, i.e. Dusty May, Darren DeVries, Pat Kelsey, because they just got there. And they probably have some loyalty to those places who took a chance on them.
Yeah.
You don't want to burn bridges, but Pat Kelsey would be a good get.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it'd be very hard though, but I'm just saying a Pat Kelsey type, But DeVries is interesting, obviously, and you've got some people out there, and it's gonna take a lot of work, but they got to get this right.
Oh, there's no question. And the thing is, I said this earlier, that I'm pretty confident that Scott Dolson is more than aware of the gravity of this hire. He knows. If anybody knows, he knows. He knows what it means to the program, to the fan base, but to getting Indiana back to being Indiana. NIL and the transfer portal were built for Indiana to get back to doing that. It hands it to you. It's a roadmap. And they have still stumbled their way through it. I think that they get it right this time, and it's going to be a lot better for Indiana fans next season, and that will be following another fun Curt Cignetti football season, baby.
That'll be interesting, right? Mendoza is your new quarterback. It's
Fernando Mendoza.
It's going to be how's spring football going over there?
You know what? I can't get out to practice because of.
Are they doing a spring game or no?
Yes, it is on Thursday. Is it the 20th?
Yeah,
I can't remember. I think it might be coming up this Thursday.
This interesting trend around college football: people not doing spring games anymore.
Yeah, losing players to the portal
because of worried about being, players getting poached and an injury, and also, wearing down and stuff. And I remember back in 2019 when Tom Allen had a spring game at Memorial Stadium, and how many people were there? Maybe 200 or.
Yeah, and moving it to a Thursday is not going to help that. I'll tell you, because that's going to limit it mostly to local fans. But it was Easter weekend. When is Easter?
Yeah.
When is Easter?
Easter, I think it's what, the 27th or the 28th or so. It's later this year, the 20th.
Okay, then it's the Thursday, the 27th is the game. That's why they moved it up to Thursday, because it was Easter week.
I think sometimes when you do it on a different day, it helps with recruits too, because a lot of people have Saturday games, and that way you can kind of have your own game, and in terms of having your own showcase and so forth and everything like that. But yeah, a lot of schools getting away from the spring game. Florida's doing theirs. I think it's on April 12th. And, the big news here is people are a little nervous about DJ Lagway because he's not throwing. He's got some kind of shoulder issue that they're being hush-hush about. So that's going to be – I'm going to have to monitor that once the season ends. But crazy basketball, I go up to Raleigh on Wednesday. I'm sure you've been in that Tri-City area, Jim. Any suggestions?
Oh, yeah. No, I do not remember any place that I ate there. I was at is Raleigh next by Winston-Salem? I can't keep all those towns.
Well, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham, yeah.
Well, it's Durham, Chapel Hill, I know are together, but
yeah, Raleigh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Too many cities close by, man. I'm more familiar with the Charlotte area. My family lives down there, so. But you're flying in, of course, I assume.
Yes,
Mr. High Roller, private jet like usual.
No,
the K-Bro Express.
Southwest.
The K-Bro Express.
I'll tell you what. I think that we had like 30-mile crosswinds landing in Jacksonville from Nashville. I thought you were gonna have to write my obit or something like that. The way it was going, it was a little scary, but we got in.
Well, I could have explained what happened in the crash because I watch air disasters like every day. I know everything. Last night I was watching one and they were having a situation and I'm like going, thrust, full thrust, push forward. I'm sitting there screaming at this pilot. He's not doing what he's supposed. I'm like, even I know this. Got into a stall. But man, I'm glad. I hate to say this. I'm glad that Indiana didn't make it because it just gives time for a reset. And Indiana, I think, needed a reset. I think it's just clean break now. And I think even though it sucked.
And I said, Don Fisher brought up a good point, and I wondered if that factored into it, like the whole lame duck status, the fact that
he said that on the show. Yeah.
The selection committee looked at that and how awkward that would be to have. But it could have been a great story too if Indiana made a run, obviously. But it was, one of those things that I wonder if in the back of their mind are like, what, are they really going to be, motivated? Or are they going to be checked out? But I mean, they hadn't won 5 of the last 7. I thought they were probably playing hard for Woody at the end. Maybe they could have done something.
Yeah, it just did not have the team put together. But when do you head out for the tournament?
I head out Wednesday night. And Florida plays Norfolk State Friday at 6:50 on TNT. And then we'll face the winner of the game between Oklahoma and UConn on Sunday.
Oh, that would be fun to watch, huh? UConn gets there.
Florida UConn would be interesting, like I said, just because of the Dan and your buddy Liam McNeely, who's starting to play really well for the Huskies. Former Montverde standout. Did you see Kevin Boyle is leaving Montverde?
Yes, heading to Spire Academy up near Cleveland. I couldn't believe that. Was shocked.
Yes, very interesting.
Speaking of which, he'll be here in Indianapolis, as will Trent Sisley and the rest of his Montverde teammates competing in the Chipotle Nationals for the national finals in early April. So we'll be covering that. But I look forward to talking to him. But congratulations to him. He says that Kelsey's buyout is only $1.1 million. That would be a little surprising. If that was the case, I'd make a run at him.
Yeah, you have to kick all the tires in this situation, Jim, for sure. And
but wouldn't you think that the tires have been kicked when he was plucked out of the College of Charlestown and goes to Louisville, builds the entire roster, and finishes how they finished?
Yeah. It's amazing what you can do now with transfer portal. I mean, you take a look at what Dusty did at Michigan too, how you can, go out and just basically rebuild your team from scratch. And, Todd Golden has done that in 3 years. He's really built this roster now to the point where it's a national title contender. You do it through the portal, but I do believe, I think in Todd Golden's situation, 3 years, he's got a lot of portal 2-3-year guys. I still think basketball is a continuity game that way. And if you can keep a core together for 2 or 3 years, it makes it that much more valuable, especially if they're talented and they play well together. Basketball is a continuity game that way too. I mean, I'm on the, sitting on the floor in Nashville and seeing how the ball is whipping and seeing how basically everyone knows where everyone is on the floor. And that takes time to develop too. So I think that while it'd be easy to say, get a quick fix and so forth and everything like that, it's good to have that nucleus as well.
Well, it's good to have you, brother, on any time that we can. And look forward to doing it again as this tournament rolls along. And hopefully Florida keeps going so we can keep talking about some NCAA tournament stuff.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, my friend. You are the best. K-Bro joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Let's take one last break. Back with more on the other side. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. NCAA tournament starts today with the first 4 in Dayton playing. And while I'm thinking about it, you guys, it'd be greatly appreciated if you would hit the like button. Just tap it right there. It's so easy, and that's so beneficial for us. I really appreciate that. Like I said, the NCAA tournament getting started today in Dayton with the first 4 in games. Of course, North Carolina playing there. Imagine that. I wonder where they'll get shipped to if they win. First game up, 6:40, Alabama State and St. Francis. Boy, that can't miss TV. Then San Diego State versus North Carolina. That could be an upset alert there. I mean, I don't know how much of an upset that would be. That's on Tuesday. Then Wednesday, you have American University versus St. Mary's and Texas versus Xavier. Well, it's been a fun day as always. Appreciate Mike DeCourcy for joining us as usual, and K-Bro. It's been a great day. We really appreciate you all. We're back tomorrow. Rick Bozich will join us. We'll continue the coaching search chatter because Indiana, they're in the final days. This is close to being over, people. And I don't mean like today or tomorrow, but you never know. If it was Darren DeVries, it could be. But make sure you're back with us. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.